Good day, everybody. This is the Modeling Hermit coming back at you once again. We made quite a bit of progress on this pickup. Essentially, I could call it done. I did have to make a few compromises. The tailgate was left off of it because that's where the camper unit will be going. I changed out the mirrors. You can see those. And put what we used to call West Coast mirrors. I don't know what they're called now, but back in the 50s and 60s when I was growing up, the people around me anyway called those West Coast mirrors. The bumper and grill have been dechromed and they've been painted white. And other than that, it's pretty well straight from the box. What we're going to do now, I've been asked many times about my front wheel, or my spare tire that I put onto the front of the vehicle. Let's move this over just a stitching. There we go. So anyway, a lot of times I like to mount the spare tire on the front of the vehicle. The reason I do that, I had a 1980 Chevy pickup, big old 3/4 ton, that somebody had moved it from the back of the truck. Generally, they were placed way back in the very back end in this area here. Gonna get that down. There we go. Okay, about down in this area here is where they're supposed to be mounted at. But that's a real hassle when you, especially if you've got a muddy road or something like that, a muddy area, you're trying to change tires in. That can be a real pain. So I like to mount them up on the front there, like my 1980 Chevy was. So I'm going to show you how to do that. I've been asked, like I said, many times about it. And first thing we're going to do is we're just going to simply press this into the tire. The wheel just slips right into there. Make sure it's good on all sides. And I'm going to show you now how we do it. So this is the spare tire carrier that goes onto the back of the truck. And all I'm going to do, I've got it marked here, certain places. I'm going to cut off these ends. And by the way, save those. They come in handy later on and for other things. Maybe not this model, but for another one. And here we go again, where my mark is at. And that, set those to the side. And then that just simply sits on there. Get my finger back here. That simply sits there. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing, but it mounts to the bumper and to this bar right across there. So that's where that's going to mount at. Maybe I can show you better, like if I can hold on to the thing. So it's going to mount up like that there, if you can see that. Only it'll mount this way. Now I've got another little area right at the front that I have to cut off, because when that goes into the wheel, that part sticks out in front of the wheel, and we've got to cut off a certain amount to make that fit better. And we're going to cut that just a little bit on the shy side, being careful as much as possible how we cut it, because these will put a little bit of reshaping onto that. And then we're just going to take and file that a little smoother. We're going to stick that through the wheel here. And then we're going to take this little thing here. Now this is actually the semi-truck models, well, car models too, some of them there, will come with an open wheel. Let me get something here to kind of give you an idea. An open wheel like this, but they'll be real thin and kind of fragile. So they'll have these cross braces that go in there to help strengthen that wheel until you're ready for it. And then you cut these out. Well, I cut this out and I downsized it to fit into this. And then that's just going to fit somewhere into that tire like that. So the first thing that we have to do though is that we have to glue this on, and we want that good and strong there to start with. So I'm going to actually use the tester's glue. I'm doing this off camera just because I've got this off camera. And let's face it, I'm just putting glue on the thing. So now I'm going to make sure that I put this where I want it to be. So I'm going to have to turn the truck a little bit to face me. So I've got to get this good and straight. And I did that the first time. So that's it. That's the mount for it. That's all there is to it. You just put a couple pieces of glue here, a couple pieces of glue here. And then we're going to let that dry for a little bit. So, and then we will mount the tire onto there. And then we'll mount this across it. And that's going to be it. We're going to come back to that in a little bit. We're going to let that be drying for a while. And we're going to get some pieces down that I'm going to show you for the next project. And I will slip in a couple videos in between here of showing some of the things, or actually a couple pictures. I've shown how I've done this before on another truck. But we're going to be making this camper unit. And I don't know if you can see this back here or not. Let me bring the camera back a little bit. I don't want to move that truck. Okay. If I move that up like that and this a little closer, maybe you can see. You'll notice that fits clear inside this truck. So I'm going to have to do some widening on it. It also is not long enough for the truck. I can do a little bit of refinishing here and there, but I'm actually going to be readjusting this more from the other, you'll see in the other pictures, how I did this to make this work on a truck similar to this. But I'm going to make this a little bit more elaborate than I did the ones in the past. So anyway, let us see now if we can slip this truck tire onto there without losing this. Where are you at now? I think I've lost. No, I'm really good on you, aren't I? Right there. Okay, so let me see if I can slip this tire onto here without messing anything up. There we go. So that's going to go right on just like that there. So now I'm going to grab this other glue. And this is my liquid glue. I use Plastrax. Some people use different glues. And we're just going to slide that tire onto there. Just like that. That's all it takes. We're going to hit one little touch out here. Now, then the thing is with this is that you'll notice that there is a little bit that is indented just a little bit. That's why we have this piece here. And what we're going to do actually out of it is, if I can find my knife, X-Acto knife, is I'm going to cut. I'm going to get the blade back in before it falls out. Can you see where I'm at here? Yeah. I'm going to cut a little bit off of that, just on the part that goes up and down now. I only want the part that's going to go up and down. Okay, we're going to cut that there, and we're going to cut this part here. If I can get it to cut. I'm trying to do this in such a way that you can see what I'm doing too. I mean, this is almost insultingly simple for making these things. I went flying, but that's okay. I saw where it went. And we're going to just simply glue this piece to the back of this in here. Like I said, we want it in that part right there. It doesn't matter if that gets a little bit of paint off of it. Doesn't matter if it got a little thick on there or anything like that. Okay, so that's going to go onto there. I need my tweezers. And we're going to then turn this over. And we're going to make sure that it fits into there without a problem. And it does. It's perfect. It is perfect. So now I need the tester's glue. We're going to do this straight out of the tube. All we're going to do is going to get a little drop onto there. you guys want to know how to do it? I actually kind of felt a little bit weird about showing this because it is so simple. Now, can you see what I'm doing here, or if I got this in the way? Oh, I've got the little glue stuck onto this, don't I? Let me get my tweezers here. Tweezer cleaners. There we go. Let's try this again now. Let's try it like this here. There you go. That's it. That's all there is to putting the spare tire on the front of the truck, mounting it on the front of the truck. That's it. And I mean, that's how simple this is. This would be representing a spinner. There'd be a bolt that would go through behind this here into that wheel axle that's holding that, I guess, for better word. And this here would just spin off like they do like on the Corvette wire wheels. So they had a little spinner in there, and you just spin that off. That's all that would represent there. That's it. So anyway, like I said, we will be coming back. Let me get this out of here. When we come back in our next video, we will be working on making this from the 1965 Chevrolet. Show you here. From the 1965 Chevrolet El Camino kit. That's the camper from it. We're going to be making that camper from that little car work on this big pickup. And as you can see, there's some discrepancies in sizes there, so it's going to take a little work. It's got to be widened, it's got to be lengthened, all kinds of work that's going to be done on that. We're going to take a short break here to take a few seconds to go through a slideshow of how I built this camper unit before to match up to the, 1974 F100 4x4 on that version there. And you can see the parts for the camper sitting below the box. This is one I did, about 5-6 years ago. There it is on the 65 Chevelle El Camino. And how it fits on there, that's just a mock-up. Pardon me. And then once again, the mock-up from the rear. And you'll notice in this next one how we have a gap on the side. This is when we mount it to a Mobius Ford pickup again. I believe this one was the 70 Ford again. And you can see that, yeah, there's quite a bit of gap there that we had to widen. In this video, let me bring it up just a little bit here. In this video, I am I've widened it, put a wide strip in there, another one there, and then these are just pieces that are tacked in to hold it. So that's how I started to build this. This is the roof, naturally. And on here you can see same thing on the other side, but now we've got our wide pieces in here where we're going to widen it out. And I think those are like about 1/4 of an inch wide. I can't remember. I think they were 1/4 of an inch wide. Something I got to do again is do my measurements. This is how it would fit on a 6-foot bed truck, and I have built one to fit that, and I had to just cut this little section right in here. I don't know if you can see this real well or not, but this, I had to cut this section here and over and just cut it straight, and then it just dropped right straight onto the truck. No problem at all. So 6-foot bed is a very easy build on this. You just have to widen it. Here you can see, let's bring you over, and if I can do it without shaking you up too much, you can see how I widened it, but by the way that I did it, it makes it look like it's just decoration there. And also you can see in the roof how that's widened. Again, down here, we can see the widening of it. And in this one over here, you can see how I've had to stretch this a little bit to make that fit onto the pickup bed. We'll get to that. I think the next picture, and I think I've got a couple, three more that. Okay, here we go again with that. I'm trying to get you back. I guess you can actually see better back here. But once again, this is that splicer piece that I put in there. Well, good day, everybody. We are back with the project of the Ford pickup and the Mobius Ford 1968 F-250 custom cab. And we're going to be making, we've got the truck built, we're going to be making the camper unit for it. I had stated a little bit ago that I had really thought about trying to build my own camper, just design my own camper. But I've had several requests that people want to know how to kit bash the camper unit from, I'm sorry, I'm trying to look for something at the same time that I'm talking here. They want to know how to kit bash the camper unit from the 65 El Camino to work on a pickup truck. So that's where we're going to be at today. We're going to go ahead and do that the same way I did it for an 8-foot bed on another truck a few years ago. And we're going to be using the 68 Ford once again. And like I said, we got the camper, the bed all set up for that. And we're going to be designing this camper to go back onto that 8-foot bed. This is designed for a little car bed, actually probably about 5.5, 6 foot. I'm not sure. I've never measured one of those El Caminos. But so it's quite a little curve that we got to go through. I've got pieces cut for it. I'm trying to get them separated here to get ready here. I've got some pieces cut to go onto this. This is going to be the addition that we have to put onto the bottom of the sleep camper unit in order to get it to work on the truck. And we're just going to be going along on this. This is the roof that I've got set aside, and the panels that will be going onto that. Those extensions, I should call them, are, you can use either Plastruct, or this is actually Evergreen models, 020 by 250, number 129 item. It's quarter scale, quarter inch wide, and then also Plastruct itself has item number 90729, and it is 20 by quarter inch. They're both 20 thickness. So anyway, those are what we're going to be using to start this process. And I've got to make sure that I'm not out of camera here. The first thing that we're going to do, I have noted on here to glue this area first. I've got this cut to go in here, but if I try and just lay that on to start with and cut that and glue that first, you can see how things want to kind of pull away, you know, and do that. So we're going to have to glue this first. And we're going to be using Plastruct, and if I can get it out of there, that's good enough. Plastruct Bondine, that's what I'm using on that. There's several different types of glues to use your preference. I would not suggest using the tube glue in this area, the Tester's tube glue. That's not a really good match for this area. I use it a lot in other things, but not for something like this. So I'm going to try and line that up as best as I can, as straight as I can. And I'm going to put just a little dab of glue on that. Actually, I'm going to put a little tab of glue right there to start with. Let that go into there. I may regret that, but so that's going to go into there. And see, I'm going to hold that over. Now don't worry if this little piece breaks off, that's no big deal. I'll just set a little glue on that. We'll glue in there first. If that breaks, it's no big deal. It's just going to go like that. All this is a widener. Just widens things, that's all it does. Okay, so now we're going to move on down a little bit. Catch this. And actually best, I use a little file to just kind of hold that down like that. And I want that, I'm going to be curving here, so I've got to make sure I got this really good and straight as I go along here. Once again, that cracked there, don't worry about it. I do want to put a little more glue on it. It's not going well. So if you got a glue glob on it, that's no big deal either. Okay, so now we've got to come up over this, I guess you call it an arch here and a back arch here. So we've got to come back over. Let me pull this away because this camera likes things farther away. So anyway, right there we've got to make that transition. I'm going to put the glue in from this side on that. And I only want to do that one little area. So I'm going to just put my file right there and hold in on that. That's all I'm going to do at this moment. Make sure that's down good and then hold in on that into that curve. Make sure it's dry. And this Plastrac does dry fast. I also built, while that's drying, also built this little thing to hold these glue bottles because I have a tendency to boom, knock over my glue, and about half my glue goes on the floor or onto some other place I don't want it. Now again, we're going to come for this arch right here. And I want, once again, to drop my glue into there. And once again, we're going to take and just put that right down onto the arch. And there's about 3 or 4 places we're going to be pushing on that arch, kind of back and forth. Kind of making sure that it stays in where I want it to stay. Okay, it looks, we're going to bring it up, we're going to take a look. That's all staying down beautiful. I'm liking that. I'm liking it. Now we're going to come back and just bring our glue in from here again. Notice that this, you'll notice that this is not laying down here. I'm not worried about that at the moment. It's actually, in a way, maybe better for me if it isn't. I'm going to go ahead and press it down now, though. Now, one thing to make sure of as you're working on this project is that, remember that these molds are old. Got way too much on there, but that's okay. That won't show. These molds are old and they have a lot of flash, so make sure that if there's any flash in these joints here, that it's gone. I found just a couple little places on this and weren't major, but AMT is really doing a good job right now of cleaning up their molds. I've got to give them credit for that. For a while there was a lot of controversy over that. A lot of people upset because they weren't cleaning their molds, but round 2 especially, since they've come in, they're really super about cleaning up their molds. Okay, so now we're getting towards the end. We still have a problem that it does not want to lay down flat, and that's mostly because now we've got to come in on this side and make sure we get plenty of glue down in there. That's really about all that amounts to. Oh, my cat's been here. Left its hair. Okay, now once again, this is 20 styrene, so it is very thin. That's why, you know, that's easy to break out that little piece up there. And so you got to be real careful with working with it. But at the same token, you got to prepare that, you know, there may be changes that have to be made as you go along. So the reason I'm mentioning that is because this piece here, I'm going to leave a little bit extra on here, but remembering that that is fragile and can be broken easily. It may get cut off straight even. I think it probably will in the end, but I'm just being careful to leave just like maybe 1/4 of an inch extra on that. And in order to do that, we're going to just bring in the scissors. It's going to be the least amount of upset to this. So now let's come back in here. And we want to bring that down in there. There's a little gap. Don't worry about the gap. Gap's not hurting anything. Gap is not hurting anything. That'll all come out in the end. There we go. That'll all come out in the end. So once again, let's come on the outside. Can you see where I'm working, or have I got myself off the camera again? I have a tendency to get off the camera. So my daughter scolds me for that. I scold me for it. Okay, so that's the first extension on. So that's adding 1/4 of an inch to this. Looks like a lot, but it's actually only just 1/4 of an inch. We're going to do the same thing with the other side. Remember to glue it first, this area here first. We're going to come in and we're going to go like this on it. And we're going to bring that in. And of course I'm working against myself because I'm trying to work so that you can see what I'm doing. All right. So let's see what that does. Let's see what that does. Have I still got you on camera? Hopefully I do. Okay, so where is this putting this thing now? Ah, perfect. Perfect, as the cats would say. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to come on this side of this. Do this in. And then I'm going to just bring it down just like that there. Just holding it. And remember, my arch is over here. I don't want to go up there yet. I'm trying to get all this settled in here first. Get that all in and set before I go to the arches. Okay, let that roll down. That's not turn in. Now, our first arch. Right there, we're going to put some glue in there. We're going to take this bruiser and we're going to come right in here with it and just come right down into the main part of the arch. Holding that right down into that main part of the arch. Don't worry if that glue seeps out a little bit, it's not going to hurt anything. So we're going to hold that down into the main part of the arch, and it's going to take a few seconds here. Do I have you on camera? I do. Just barely got you on camera, don't I? There we go. All right, now are we holding? We seem to be holding. We seem to be holding. Now we got to do the same thing with this part of the arch over here. We can double check, make sure this is dry good. Plaster cement, bonding cement here does dry fast. Their plastic weld takes a little bit longer, but it does different things too. Okay, bringing that just over that, holding down on this part, the arch, and bringing that down into there. Remember, we're putting a 1/4 inch wide section in here. And we're trying to do it on camera as much as we can remember to do such a thing on camera. And yeah, I know it's getting a little boring for you, that holding that. But this is kind of an important part. Some of this stuff I will do a little bit differently as we go along. I won't show a lot of everything on camera that I'm doing. You know, just give you a little glimpse of it, just so you can see. But this is kind of the important part. It's where the whole thing sets the stage for the whole rest of the build, actually. So getting that down in there good. So yeah, this is, I'm actually taking a little longer than I normally would. This is, I'm sure, can get pretty boring to you. Just watching all this glue going in here and me sitting there holding things. I'm babbling like mad. Okay, but there you are. That's the two main sections in. The things that are going to set the width of this. Remember, leaving about 1/4 of an inch gap here, or extra here. And those pieces can set back with the other 250s. And they're going to come, actually, they're going to come back into play after a bit because they'll be coming in over here on this end here. So at the back door area, they're going to become, these two extra pieces that are cut off will be going right there on that. But I've got to wait to do that until I got things kind of set here first. So that is those pieces there. Now these will go on here. You straighten. There you go. These then go on over here. And that's going to be another challenge in itself. And they will go on to fit in like that right there. And that kind of gets, like I said, that can be a challenge in itself. I think if I remember right, I kind of actually set them so that they get in and you get a little rain gutter groove in them. So I actually want that so that it's going to ride along this line here and then come right in here, so that this will have a little bit of a stick up just a little bit, but it gives kind of a rain gutter effect going down the sides, and it will look something like, if I can get it in there, something like that right there to some degree. So that's what's going to happen with that. Like I said, that's a whole new story on itself. So I've got this one piece that, there we go. Let's finally glue that in there. There we go. And I'll hit that with plastic weld to hold that one piece that kind of broke out there. So anyway, so that's how that's going to have to go in like that. And that's why you leave this end long here too, is that, as you can see it on this side here, down here at the bottom here, when that comes up like that, there is actually a little lip on that. So that's why we're leaving that extra long, but we don't know just how much. It's been so long since I've done this. Okay, so now I've drawn this out, and that is the portion that goes underneath of this. And that will then be measured off of the truck. Let's move this, bring the truck over. And that comes down like that, and this comes down like this onto there, and that gives me how much I need to cut. I'm actually cutting to here. We are using, there's a line on the truck right here that I'm using, that's where this will line up at onto the truck, actually about down into here. We'll be cutting off this portion right here of it. So anyway, that's why that is going to go like that. And so I've got a line here. That's where my cut line up here will be after a few checks. So anyway, that's actually going to give me something like that there. So I'm going to be cutting off about that much right there. And then instead of an arch, this arch will be left in here, but there'll be a flat piece that comes down like that. And then that's going to cut straight down. And then this will be your kind of a decorative piece that goes into here. So that's going to be my next thing to cut. Some of this, like I said, I will do off camera because otherwise it's going to bore you to death. So I'm going to turn off the camera. I'm going to do some preliminary work here, some cutting and stuff, show you what I've done, and then we'll come back and show you, and actually show you gluing those pieces together. So without further ado, we will take a break from you for just a little bit. And when I come back, we're going to be gluing some things together. All right, so we're back with an update again now. And I've gone ahead and I finished this section that goes into here, cut that out. That's that additional section. Let me bring this over one time so that this is going to now sit like that. And notice that there's a line in the back of this truck here where the back piece is added to the bed that this lines up with, and that brings that up nicely to there. And then this sits up a little bit above the cab, more than what I'd like, but it just works out perfect with this line here. So I've added a brace inside here. Where are you at? You're over there. Okay. I've added a brace inside there. Let me get something else to line up with. That's going to hold this wall a little bit better. And you can see now there's like what I call a rain gutter running down the wall. in this. So, and that's where you widen it at. And it just gives a little decoration, so you don't have to sit there and fiddle around with, you know, does this look right or whatever. I've also added now some strips that go inside of this. Those are just simply, good where you can see it, number 135 evergreen models, 135 30 by 100. 10, there's 10 strips in one of these things. But anyway, so you use about 2 to 3, I think 3 strips of what is what it took me to run that. And so you got one that's going to be over there for brace there. Then you have the little piece that's already on the roof. And then you add 1, 2, 3 in the middle, and then another one over here on this other side. Now the reason that I'm adding those, let's get this truck out of the way again, is because we're going to put a ceiling in here. I didn't do this on the earlier ones, and I wish I had. So the ceiling is just going to fit right inside of there. And for that ceiling, I used evergreen models again, 9015 plain, 1500s, 15,000s, whatever that is, 0.4 millimeter thick is what I used for that. So that it's nice and pliable, because remember you got this curve here. You got to have something that you can curve around there. One thing you got to remember to do is cut a little bit of a slot right in that area there, because you still have a splice place here, whatever you call it. I can't think. My brain is dead right now. I'll think of it as soon as I get off camera. Okay, and now this is actually going to stick out farther than this right now, but it will get cut down. And then what we have that's going to go in after that, let me get this back in, is we have paneling that's going to go into there. And I've got that semi-cut now. It will have to be, once we get this ceiling in and everything's set, I've got to do a little bit more filing on the top. And I say filing because that's what I do, is file a little bit at a time to get myself a nice smooth line across there and get a nice even fill. And it doesn't take much, as you can see. If you can see that window there, you can see just a little bit of the inside of that window showing. That's how much I got to take that back up. So that's going to be the next thing. I'm not showing my work as I'm doing this, because as you saw when I was putting down these splice pieces here, it's a lot of fiddling, and that takes forever. So mostly what I'm going to be doing is showing you how I've done something. And that's my next project is going to be doing that. Now, one thing is, you're building it, do not glue this in as you're building this, because you still have to paint the whole works yet. And there's a trim piece that's going to go along here and here. There's a trim piece that goes along that. I'm going to be painting this white. I thought I might paint this silver. I'm almost wishing I'd scruffed that up with a piece of like 100 grit sandpaper to give it kind of a, I don't know, a surface to it, just to make it more interesting. But we'll just deal with what we've got. So anyway, that's what I'm going to be working on for a little bit here until we come back again. Don't worry about this little bit at the back, because the back piece that goes in there is going to cover that. So don't worry that much about that. That's going to get covered. So I'm going to be working on that, getting that all put together. This is the piece that the splice spacer, whatever you call it, that I'm going to be putting in here. I've got my words all fouled up. So anyway, that's going to just go in there just like that, glue in. And when that goes in, be sure to glue it at the back so that this side is flush, because that also glues to this. So make sure that this side, not this side, but the back side is flush. Just like that. Don't worry about this little line up here. That'll work itself out. You're worried more about this here, and this will come together. So anyway, I should also mention that this front piece that goes, let me get that out of there, that goes into here, that front piece right there has a piece that comes angled down like this for the car. It angles. And I've cut that so that now instead of angling, it's going to come straight like that because we're matching this right here. So we're going to come straight down on that. So that's about the only difference on that. And I'm going to go ahead and get this glued together. I'll get this ceiling glued in here because it's going to be white anyway. We're going to paint all this white. And so the ceiling can be glued in and it'll be turned white. And everything else will get painted white. And when I come back, we should be ready to do some more assembly on it. I've got to, like I said, I do have to cut this, trim that. That's my update for right now. And we'll come back with some, probably actually do some work when we come back. Okay, so we are going to be calling this a session on this in here. This is what we've got so far on the camper build. You see that's approximately how it's going to go onto the truck. And we're going to get this out of here before I break it. Get my figures out of here. So what we have is we have both sides glued on with the extension here glued in, and that'll get decorated up a little bit. Some trim goes around the edges of that. I did cut it back just a little bit, about a pencil width actually on there, pencil lead width. And now this is the extension here that we built on either side. And you'll note that this roof comes, or the sides come just slightly up above, just the same as the roof. So when you glue in this, match these to that. And that's basically about all there is to that. I have the ceiling in now. I went ahead and put that in because all of this is going to get painted white. So the ceiling too. And then we have the truck sitting on part of the piece that I need. And then, like I said earlier, this is going to fit into there. And that's representing wood paneling, which was a big thing back in that era. One thing that I love, I'm probably about the only person in the world that loves wood paneling. But so anyway, that will fit into there when we're ready. But still don't glue it in yet because you got to paint this first. But before I can paint it, I've got to get the front and the back built to go onto it. I would recommend on that back, where is it at? Over here. That's got a door on that I don't think be that hard to cut that out. And I believe those would have swung outwards. And on this one, let me move stuff around again. So bring the truck over. I think I mentioned this before, but there I've got a line here cut, or line set there, that this is going to cut off and drop down because this is actually sitting up about here now. And it's going to need that spacer in there to fill that. And then there'll be a step or two. I think I'll just design a step or something that will come out from that, or else you just bring your own steps, whatever. But so that's going to fit on there like that and like that. And then this bottom piece here just cuts off from there and then glues to the bottom of it. So that's about the gist of that. You know what I ought to do is I ought to cut that down a little bit, actually. Anyway, we'll figure it out. That's the nice thing about this. So this is once again the about the same sleeper camper unit that I built 5-6 years ago. One of the things I'm having to do is remember how I built it and remember what I used. I will also at some point also put in the pieces of plastic, strip and sheet plastic. I'll also make a note of that for you too. So this is what we're looking like inside. So there's our ceiling, our panels, and then this is the width on the outside that was added, and the width that was added down here. Okay, so I'm going to call that a session for right now, and an update, whatever you want to call it at this point. And I'll go ahead and get this up and so that you can see it. And then when we come back, we'll have a new session, and we will be showing how we did the other work on this. I'm not showing much work as I'm building it because it's just going to take too long, and you're going to get bored and leave me and get frustrated. So this is the Modeling Hermit, and I'm off the air and gone once again.